Nathan slid his hands over my face, his fingers gently brushing against the soft skin on my cheek. I swatted at him quickly, but he dodged my attempt to stop him and backed away with a grin. "Stop it, Nathan," I said, my voice full of frustration and laughter. The small living room was filled with the sound of our playful banter, and our laughter cut through the cold winter air pressing against the windows. The room was cozy, a haven from the cold outside. Nathan had always been a tease. Even as a child, he had a natural charm that could light up any room, and now, at the age of 26, the charm had grown stronger. I looked at him, my son, now taller and broader, a man in every way but still carrying the boyish mischief that had always made him so endearing. His dark hair was tangled from our playful scuffle, and his blue eyes sparkled with delight. "Mom," he said, leaning closer with a grin, his breath warm against my neck, "you know you enjoy it." I rolled my eyes, pretending to be annoyed, but deep down I couldn't deny what he said. Even in difficult situations, Nathan managed to make me feel connected, loved, and supported. Our bond had always been strong, but it deepened after Robert died a year ago. My husband had been the love of my life, and losing him felt like losing a piece of myself, but Nathan had been my anchor, giving me a reason to keep going. Let me tell you a little more about myself. My name is Matilda, and even at 62, I carry myself with confidence and grace. I've had a full life, filled with love, challenges, and memories that shaped me. I'm proud of how I look, particularly my curves. Are a result of many years of living and loving well. Robert, my husband, had died unexpectedly, leaving a void in our lives. Nathan was 25, just entering adulthood. Losing Robert was a devastating blow, and the grief was overwhelming. However, through our pain, Nathan and I grew closer. Our bond was unbreakable. Even when Robert was alive, he would frequently joke that I lavished too much love on Nathan, overshadowing him, but this couldn't have been further from the truth. My feelings for them were equal but unique in their own way. Robert was my partner and rock, and Nathan was my pride and light. Following Robert's death, Nathan became my support, assisting me in carrying the burden of running our family business and navigating life without my husband. Grief brought us together in ways that nothing else could, and we completely relied on one another. He gave me strength on days when I felt like I didn't have any, and I reminded him of his father's love and the legacy we were creating together. So here we were in this cozy little room, finding comfort in our laughter, connection, and unspoken understanding. Nathan and I shared a closeness that others might find unusual, but it felt as natural to us as breathing. We laughed and played together, finding joy in the simplest of moments. Some nights, he would rest his head on my chest while I cradled him, just like when he was a baby. It was a comforting reminder of our long-standing bond. Even as he grew older, turning 6, he still sought comfort in my embrace, clinging to me as if he were the little boy who once relied on me to chase away his fears. I never noticed anything wrong with it. It was our way of holding on to the love and connection that had helped us get through so much. Our relationship evolved in unexpected ways over the course of several months. It wasn't just the physical closeness, the shared baths, or the late-night conversations. It was something deeper, a bond that went beyond the typical boundaries of mother and son. Our connection became the bedrock of my existence, a safe haven where I found comfort and strength. Life had thrown us into unfamiliar territory, and we adapted in ways that others may not understand but which felt completely natural to us. Nathan was more than just my son. He had become my grief partner, confidant, and unwavering supporter. Nathan and I would retire to our living room every evening, exhausted from running the family business. It was our haven, a place where the stress of the day seemed to fade, leaving only the quiet bond we shared. The room was small but inviting, with soft golden light from an old lamp in the corner. The table's glow filled the room with warmth, creating a sense of safety from the outside world. Nathan was always sitting close to me, sometimes so close that our shoulders touched. His presence was steady and reassuring, a gentle reminder that I was not facing life's challenges alone. Though we didn't always speak, the silence between us was comfortable, filled with an unspoken understanding that words couldn't express. We both enjoyed taking shared baths. It all started with Nathan's simple act of kindness. He had noticed how overwhelmed I had become in the aftermath of Robert's death and took it upon himself to provide me with moments of peace. He would take care to prepare everything, running the bath and adding a generous splash of lavender oil, knowing how much its calming scent would relax me. The tub was spacious and luxurious, allowing us to share without feeling crowded. Nathan would help me step in, his hands steadying me as I eased into the warm water. We'd sit side by side, letting the heat soothe our tired bodies. We'd sit in comfortable silence, with only the occasional splash of water and the soft tea of the heater in the background. Other times we talked. Nathan would tell us stories about his father that made us laugh and cry. He'd talk about his vision for the family business, how he wanted to grow it while honoring Robert's legacy. His words were full of determination and love, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride for him. "Would you think Dad would be proud of us?" Nathan asked one evening, his voice full of vulnerability and hope, and I cued his expression. My thumb brushing over the light stubble on his jawline revealed that he was already Nathan. He had always been, as had I. He leaned into my touch, his blue eyes searching for reassurance. In that moment, the room felt smaller, and the world seemed to revolve around the two of us. In those moments, the bath became more than just a place to relax. It was a space where we could connect on a deeper level. Nathan's concern and thoughtfulness reminded me of how much I meant to him, so I tried to be the steady presence he required as he navigated adulthood without his father's guidance. These evenings became the highlight of my day, a time when the burdens of responsibility faded away, replaced by the simple comfort of being together, the warmth of the water, the soothing scent of lavender, and Nathan's unwavering presence, which made me feel safe, cherished, and supported in ways I hadn't expected after losing Robert, despite the fact that life outside our home was often demanding and uncertain. These moments with Nathan reminded me that I was not alone. Together, we found solace in our rituals, establishing a new rhythm in our lives based on love, understanding, and the strength we drew from one another. As time passed, the physical manifestations of our closeness increased. He'd sit beside me on the couch, his head on my lap, and I'd run my fingers through his hair. It was an unspoken agreement, a way for us to find comfort in one another. One night, as he rested his head on my chest, he murmured, "You're my everything, Mom." His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. I kissed his forehead. My heart swelled with a mix of emotions, love, pride, and a profound sense of responsibility that felt both burdensome and rewarding. We built our lives around each other, with our routines seamlessly intertwined. One night, I sat on the edge of my bed, unable to sleep, the weight of grief pressed down on me, a constant reminder of the void left by my husband's untimely death. My eyes were puffy from crying all night, and my heart ached with loneliness that no one else could understand. I missed him so much, his laughter, touch, and presence. It felt like a piece of me had been ripped away, leaving a void that nothing could fill as I stared at the walls of our bedroom, attempting to push away the memories that flooded my mind. I heard a creak in the door. Nathan stepped in, his eyes soft and concerned. Even as a child, he had a sense of what was wrong. It was just one of the many factors that contributed to our strong and unique bond. "Mom," he said gently, walking over to me, "I saw you sitting here and couldn't help but come in." His voice was soothing, like balm for my aching soul. When I looked up at him, my son and best friend, a tear streamed down my cheek. He reached out, placing his hand on my shoulder, and the warmth of his touch made me shiver. It was a simple gesture, but it meant everything in the moment. "Nathan," I whispered, my voice trembling, "I don't know how to go on without him. I miss him so much. I need him." Nathan leaned in closer, his breath warm against my skin. "You don't have to do this alone," he murmured. "I'm here for you, Mom, always." His words brought a flood of emotions, tears streaming down my face as I clung to him. He wrapped his arms around me, holding me tightly as if trying to absorb my pain in his embrace. I felt safe, cherished, loved. It was a feeling I hadn't experienced since my husband's passing, and it was both comforting and confusing as we sat there lost in our shared sorrow. Nathan's hands began to move, gently stroking my back, my arms, my hair. Each touch was deliberate, filled with a tenderness that took my breath away. I looked up at him, my eyes searching his, and found them filled with a mixture of love and something deeper and darker. "Mom," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I need you to know that I love you so much." His confession hung heavy in the air, a silent plea for understanding. I felt my heart beat faster, my pulse rushing in my ears as I tried to process his words. They were dangerous, forbidden, yet they stirred something deep within me, something that I had buried long ago. Before I could respond, Nathan leaned in, his lips brushing against mine in a hesitant kiss. It was gentle, almost reverent, as if he was afraid of breaking me, but the moment his lips touched mine, I felt a spark ignite inside me, a fire that I hadn't known was still burning. I kissed him back, my body responding instinctively to the touch of his mouth. It was wrong, so very wrong, yet it felt right in a way I couldn't explain. Our kiss deepened, becoming more urgent, more passionate. Nathan's hands moved to cup my face, his fingers tangling in my hair as he pulled me closer. Our tongues met, exploring each other with a fierce intensity that left me breathless. I could feel the heat between us. Rising, the tension building. Nathan's hands roamed down my back, his touch electric, sending shivers down my spine. "Nathan," I gasped as he pulled away slightly. "We shouldn't be doing this," but he didn't stop. Instead, he captured my lips again. His kiss more demanding, more insistent. I surrendered to the sensations he was stirring within me. "Nathan," I tried again. My voice trembling as his lips trailed a fiery path along my jawline and down to my neck. "This isn't right," but even as I said it, my hands betrayed me, threading through his thick hair, pulling closer. His breath was warm against my skin as he murmured, "Then why does it feel so perfect?" His lips moved lower, brushing over my collarbone, soft and persistent, making my protests dissolve into a quiet gasp. "You're beautiful," he said softly, his gaze sweeping over me with reverence that made my cheeks flush. He leaned in again, his mouth finding mine, and the kiss was deeper this time. He kissed me slowly and deliberately, as if he wanted to savor every moment and movement. I felt his hands skim along my sides, his thumbs brushing against my ribs, sparking fire wherever he touched. "Nathan." I whispered, my voice catching as his lips pressed into the hollow of my throat. His hands slid lower, resting on my hips and pulling me against him. The heat of his body against mine was intoxicating, and I couldn't help but tilt my head back to allow him more access. His lips returned to mine, moving with a hunger that matched mine, and his hands caressed my cheek with tenderness that made me shiver. I tangled my fingers in his hair, bringing him closer as his mouth explored mine, leaving no inch unexplored. Every sensation was amplified, every touch electric. The sensation was overwhelming, a combination of heat and electricity that pushed me against him, craving more. His hands moved with a confidence that belied his age, but there was a tenderness in each movement that reassured me and made me feel loved. His lips followed his hands, exploring, leaving me breathless and wanting more. Time seemed to blur as we lost ourselves in each other, and the world outside faded away. Only Nathan, his touch, kisses, and whispered words made my heart race. "Nathan," I murmured again, my voice trembling as his lips moved back to mine. This time, the kiss was deeper and more intense, and I felt the last traces of hesitation fade. The night wore on, our breaths mingling. Every kiss, touch, and whispered word felt like a declaration, a promise of something neither of us could fully articulate but both understood, and we didn't stop, not then, not for long. The room was filled with the sound of our whispers, laughter, and gasps as we explored each other, discovering every curve, line, and secret. It was as if time had stopped, giving us this moment, this endless night in which nothing else mattered but the two of us. Nathan's lips never left mine. His fingers traced intricate patterns along my sides, sending a shiver of anticipation through me. "You're everything I've ever wanted," he said, his voice thick with emotion. I silenced him with another kiss, my hands sliding down his back, feeling the tension in his muscles, his warmth, his strength, and the way he looked at me as if I were the only person in the world. It was alluring. I should have stopped it, put an end to the madness, but every time I opened my mouth to speak, his touch silenced my protests, drawing me deeper into the situation. His hands cupped my face, and he kissed me again. His thumbs brushed across my cheeks. He whispered, "Tell me if this is too much," his eyes searching mine with passion and concern. "It is not," I said in a breathless whisper. "I want this. I want you." The words had barely left my mouth when his lips claimed mine again. His kisses became bolder and more demanding, and his hands moved freely over every inch of my skin, igniting a fire that consumed me. I couldn't get enough of him and couldn't bring him close enough no matter how hard I tried. The air in the room became thicker, charged with the electricity of the moment. My hands slipped into his hair, tugging gently as his lips moved lower, tracing the curve of my neck, the hollow of my throat, and the rise of my chest. His mouth was hot against my skin, leaving a trail of fire in its wake. Every nerve in my body felt alive, and every touch sent a wave of pleasure rushing through me. I got lost in the sensation of him, the way he made me feel cherished, desired, and loved. "Nathan," I whispered, my voice breaking as his hands slid down my thighs, drawing me in closer. His name slipped from my lips. Matilda murmured against my skin, his voice trembling with emotion, like a prayer, plea, and confession of everything I couldn't say out loud. "You're incredible." The intensity of his gaze, the way he looked at me as if I were his entire world, caused my heart to clench. I knew what we were doing was wrong and that there would be consequences, but I didn't care at the time. All that mattered was him, how he made me feel, and how he held me tight as if he never wanted to let go. Time lost its meaning as we surrendered to each other, our bodies and souls entwined in an age-old dance. The room seemed to pulse with our collective energy, our breaths mingling and our hearts beating in sync. Finally, as the night progressed, Nathan held me close, his arms tightly wrapped around me. I rested my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat's steady rhythm as it began to slow. We remained silent for a long time, the weight of our actions settling on us. I could feel the guilt creeping in, and I could see it in Nathan's eyes when he looked at me. "This shouldn't have happened," I said softly, my arms wrapped around him, refusing to let go. "I understand," he replied. His voice was full of regret, but I don't regret it one bit. Neither did I, despite the fact that it was wrong and the consequences were unavoidable. I couldn't bring myself to regret how he made me feel, even though guilt plagued both of us. We find comfort in each other's embrace, vowing to keep our secret hidden from the world.